Okay, so since the Oscars are about to be upon us, I decided to make my ranking of the Best Picture nominees for this year, mainly because I just really love the Oscars. It is my Super Bowl, and for the first time since they've opened the category up to 10 pictures, I've been able to watch every single Best Picture nominee before the Oscars this year, and I'm very excited about that. So, yeah, let's get started. Okay, so coming in at number 10 at the bottom of the list is The Fabelmans. Now, this movie is actually the only one on this list that I did not enjoy. Every other movie that was nominated this year I thought was good to great, but this one just did not do it for me. I felt like the tone was really uneven. The acting I thought was decent, but nothing special. And overall, it just really wasn't interesting to me. I was actually bored during a good chunk of this film. And I feel like the only reason it got nominated is due to people's love and reverence for Steven Spielberg, even though this is far from his best work. In ninth place is All Quiet on the Western Front. Now, this film was beautifully shot and about such an important topic, but the reason it's so low for me on this list is that its theme of war is hell is just the one that, we've seen several times before in many films. 1917, Dunkirk, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it just wasn't as interesting to me as a lot of other films on this list were. I do, though, hope it wins Best Original Score, because I thought that the music was really good with me. That's probably what stayed with me the most after seeing this film. Number 8 for me was Triangle of Sadness. Now, this movie, it had some great acting scenes, and it had some genuinely funny scenes in it as well, like the scene where the boat captain and the Russian businessman are discussing socialism versus capitalism. That was really well done. That was really enjoyable. But for me, the social commentary in it was way too on the nose. And while I did enjoy watching this film, it's not something that I can see myself ever watching again. And it's not something that I really, I didn't think about this film the day after I saw it. I watched it, enjoyed it, and then it was kind of gone from my mind. Banshees of Inisherin was my number 7 film. And this one, again, everything on this film is just beautifully made. It's just well put together. The cinematography, the score, the script, and the acting are all top-notch. They are just amazing. I loved Colin Farrell's performance in this, and he's actually my pick for Best Actor this year, though I'm pretty sure it's going to go to either Austin Butler or Brendan Fraser. But the reason it's so low on my list, despite all these wonderful elements in it, is just the whole thing with the fingers, that just grossed me out too much. I don't think I can ever rewatch this because of that. So that's why, despite it being very well made, it's just lower tier for me. Number 6 is Elvis, and Austin Butler's performance in this is just amazing. I mean, his ability in this to channel Elvis and make him come off as a real person and not like he's doing an impersonation is just really, really impressive. And I feel like for that alone, the film is worth seeing. The rest of the film I find to be a bit uneven. The first half is this super choppy, manic, high energy, just cuts, edits, camera angles, just boom, 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 hitting you. And then all of a sudden in the second half, once they get to Elvis doing his show in Vegas, the movie slows down and becomes basically a traditional film at that point. And so it's kind of jarring and all over the place, I felt, with that. I do, though, think that this movie accomplishes its goal, because for a week after seeing this, all I was doing was listening to Elvis music in my car and watching interviews with Elvis and performances by Elvis, the actual Elvis, So I think it is really effective for that reason. Okay, at number 5, we're in the top 5 now. At number 5, I put Avatar 2, The Way of Water. And this one, let's be honest, is only on this list because of the amazing special effects. I think the reason James Cameron films are so successful because he takes very basic, tropey, simple stories, and he is able to execute them perfectly and with good actors, and then the most dazzling, cutting-edge special effects. I mean, you take this movie, Titanic, Terminator 2. I mean, it's the same type of formula, but he is so good at doing that formula that it's just very crowd-pleasing. I mean, his movies, really, they're more like rides, really, than cinema, but they are such fun and, entertaining rides that you're happy at the end. You're like, that was a worthwhile experience. And that's how I felt with Avatar 2. Right. The number 4 film for me was Tar. And Cate Blanchett is just amazing in this film. If she wins Best Actress for this, that would be really well deserved. Though I do actually hope that Michelle Yeoh gets it. Just because Cate Blanchett has won it 2 times already. And Michelle Yeoh, this might be her only chance to win the Oscar. And also her win would be, historic. So that would be nice. Todd Field, I think should get Best Director for this. I don't think he's going to. I think that's probably going to the 2 Daniels. But I just think that for me personally, he did the best job directing this year. The first half of this movie was really, really slow for me, like kind of almost falling asleep. This also could be because I was watching it late at night and I had to break it up into 2 days. But first half was really slow. And then the second half, though, once all those pieces they kind of laid out in the first half, once all those start coming together, and once towards the end when Lydia Tarr starts to become completely unhinged, I was just absolutely captivated, and I could not stop thinking about this movie for just like days afterwards, which is kind of how I judge films on Oscar lists. It's like, did the movie stay with me afterwards? Did I think about it after? And in the case of Tar, I most certainly did, which is especially impressive given that I know nothing about conducting or like classical music at all, and this movie just, I could not look away. Okay, so number 3 for me this year was Everything Everywhere All at Once. And this film, I just think it's so good. I think it is creative and it is relatable and it is just a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of films we've seen lately. I think in the past, I don't know, decade or so, maybe 2, films have kind of gotten pretty stale and like repetitive, and this was just, a completely original concept. Like I said earlier, I hope Michelle Yeoh wins the Oscar for Best Actress, and as well as Ke Huy Quan for Best Supporting Actor. Fingers crossed that he's got that locked in. And I think this is going to win Best Picture overall, which I think would be very well deserved. And when you consider just how outside the box this film is, that's pretty amazing. Then it went from being kind of like this indie film that people didn't know too much about, and then now it's like, the front runner for Best Picture. When I saw this in the theater, I laughed, I cried, I just, went through all the emotions. But the reason it is at number 3 for me and not 2 or 1 is because I do think it's about 20 minutes too long and it gets a little repetitive in the middle. So I feel like if they'd cut that down and made that a little bit tighter, it'd be higher up on the list for me. But no, overall, great film, top 3 of the year for me, great film. And number 2 for me would be Top Gun Maverick. Now, this film, when they announced it, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was going to be terrible. I did not understand why they were making a sequel to Top Gun 30 years later, no less. And then I saw it, and it turned out I was wrong. I was really, really wrong. And what I loved about this film was just, it's like what movies used to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like movies used to be, at least like your popular blockbuster top tier movies, they used to be movies that were well written, they had a really tight script, they had good acting, they got quality actors for it, but then they were also just really fun and enjoyable movies. Like they were movies you would want to see over and over again. They were movies once they came to, like video, you would buy or rent a bunch, they were films you wanted to actively see again, but they did also move you emotionally or mean something to you in some way. And I feel like lately, in at least the past decade, maybe a little more, it's like I feel like all movies are either really pretentious, kind of slow Oscar bait that nobody sees, very few people see, or they are these just soulless CGI fests that might visually be impressive, but that there's nothing to them. It's they're just all fluff, and you just, they're not memorable one thing to the next, you don't care. And so this movie just was a movie that reminded me why we love seeing movies, why we love going to theaters and seeing movies. And if I'm honest, I do think in a way this deserves to be Best Picture, just because not only was it the most popular film from last year, it was also the movie that saved the movie industry. It got people to go back into the theaters and see films, and I think that should be recognized. Do I think it's going to win? Probably not, just because of the popcorn aspect of this film. That's usually not what the Oscars like. But, I mean, who knows? If it did win Best Picture, I wouldn't be upset. And my number 1 film out of all the nominees this year was Women Talking. I loved this movie. I loved that it was just short and to the point, and that they had these nuanced conversations, and that There's not really much action or anything in it. It is just these women talking about this terrible situation they find themselves in and what their choices are, whether they stay and forgive these men who assaulted them, whether they stay and fight the men of their community, or whether they leave, and what does that look like when they make each of those choices. I thought the acting in this was just amazing. This is some of the best acting I've seen all year, if not, in several years. And how no one from this film was nominated in an acting category is just, that's mind-blowing to me. Like, that is really baffling. But it is what it is. I was so moved by this film that even though I'm on a low buy, no buy for books, the day after seeing this movie, I went out and ordered the book it's based on from Amazon, and I've already began reading it. I got it yesterday in the mail, and I've already started. And so, yeah, that's how much this film just resonated with me personally. I'm under no illusions that it's going to win Best Picture. I know it has no shot of winning Best Picture. I know that's going to most likely Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I'm not mad at. I also love that film. But just for me personally, this was the best film of the year. And if you haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend you check it out. So yeah, that's how I'd rank the Oscar nominees for Best Picture this year. Let me know in the comments what you think, what your personal ranking was, which of these movies you've seen or haven't seen or wanted to see. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.